The following programming is sponsored by Mark J. Bernstein. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Entrepreneur, founder, author, and financial advisor Mark Bernstein helps high-performing business owners turn their visions into reality. Through his innovative work and the Forward Focus Forums, Mark connects entrepreneurs to resources that fuel their success. Founders Forum is a radio show and podcast where entrepreneurs share their journeys, revealing the lessons they've learned and the stories behind their success. Join Mark and his guests for a mix of inspiration, valuable insights, and a little fun. Now, let's dive in.
Good morning, America. How are you? We are here on a beautiful sunny day in Philadelphia. It's the day after Election Day. Had some changes in the trade winds of politics, I guess, in the country, but we're not going to get into. We don't talk about politics much here. But I've been listening to radio and watching TV about I like POTUS on Sirius XM. I listen to what's going on in politics. And it brings up something I've been thinking about the last couple of weeks. And we have in the studio Matt and Vera. Vera, you've met before. Matt is new. I'll introduce him formally in a few minutes. But I've been thinking, guys, about what influences me in a good way and in a bad way, and what I want to influence me and what I don't want to influence me. I'll give you an example. There was a time that I was most influenced by the books I read. But I've been really busy, haven't been reading as many books. And I find that I'm being more influenced by things around me. I won't get into my stuff, but I'm curious, and I'm going to ask Vera first. And by the way, this is Vera Hempel.
Good morning.
Good morning. And tell everyone what you do in a quick second.
My name is Vera Hempel, and I am the co-founder of a user experience consultancy called Cactus Club Creative. We are also developing a product called Kiss UX, helping aging adults navigate user interfaces more securely and more confidently to make sure they stay safe and they can participate in the online world.
And Vera is a future podcaster. I'm teasing her on the Founders Forum Network, I hope, because she has an organization called Hungry Founders.
We do.
For startups, and it would be a perfect vehicle to have podcasts and to connect people that way. So what do you think about? What influences you?
Well, when you asked me that question a couple minutes ago, I was thinking, and I was going to say something profound like my daughter and my relationships. But to be honest, I think it's my mood and if I have eaten or not. And you just have to ask my co-founder, Kuba.
Right.
Because if I haven't eaten breakfast, I am usually
okay, well, that's a good
not
one.
in a good mood. And I think that is definitely a big influencer of mine.
Well, that shows some self-awareness. That's a good thing.
For sure.
And maybe you haven't had your coffee. No, I'm just going.
Today I have had coffee.
Okay, we're moving into Matt territory. So, and you'll understand that in a minute. How about you, Matt? What influences you that you notice?
Oh, I've had this core group of friends for about 20 years, and I've been married for almost 20 years. So all these folks I met in college, and we live life together. So. That's number one, is these relationships around me that we built a life together.
Nice.
We meet every week. We go on vacations together. We live life together. We're building houses together. This core of people it's partly who I am.
It's like your community within a community.
That's right.
That's very cool. Or your the family you pick.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
As well. Very nice. All right, so let's introduce Matt. Matt is Matt Ramsay. He's a founder and co-owner of Denim Coffee, and he's a former college minister, which is part of his story, who, along with his wife, Kristen, and business partner, Tony Diehl, say it, Diehl?
That's right.
Has built a coffee. I actually met Tony online first before I met Matt. He's built a coffee roasting business, a bakery, and 7 coffee shops across central Pennsylvania. And by the way, thank you for coming out to Ballackinwood to do this today.
Oh, yeah, excited to be here.
And currently building their 8th location. And where's that going to be?
Harrisburg again.
Harrisburg,
yeah.
Good. And Denim also helps new coffee shops open and is also uniquely bringing flash-chilled coffee to the market, which we'll get to. And Matt cares about justice, great coffee, and hospitality. And their motto is, and I have to say I am ignorant on this because I'm not a coffee drinker.
Oh, no.
I know, it's bad.
Well, thanks for having me.
And I'm an advocate. I think I'm fascinated by the coffee business. I've told you my daughter's in the coffee business. I never acquired the taste. That's all
There's
it is.
still time, Mark.
There's still time to work on me. But anyway, and maybe because his motto, as I was going to say, is make better coffee. So maybe that'll do it.
That's right. That's right.
There we go. So Matt, let's talk about your story and how you went from being a college minister and got into the coffee business.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me. Yeah, first of all.
Our pleasure.
Yeah. So we started, I was in college. I was working, my first coffee job was on a college campus. And I loved making drinks. Now, the coffee was terrible. It was really, really bad. But I loved making drinks. I did that for 3 years. And students would come in late at night.
You knew then that the coffee was bad.
Oh, yeah, you could tell. Yeah. But I loved making the drinks, and the students would come in. And for some reason, this coffee shop was open until 1 a.m. in the morning. And students would come in alone. So I tell the baristas this story often. They'd come in, one student would come in at 11 at night on a Thursday and say, can you make me a smoothie? And I'd say, well, why is that student there? They're there for a smoothie, of course, but then they sit down at a table. Why? Well, over 40% of college students are lonely, extremely lonely. That happens in college.
Even more so now, I think. Than
it could be higher. Yeah, that was a stat from a while ago. So they're not there just for the coffee. They're not just there for a smoothie. They're there to be a part of a community somewhere. They're in their dorm room alone. They're trying to get out somewhere. And so I tell the baristas, this might be the only moment that person has in a day, in a hard day, and they're interacting. Don't make it a transaction. Don't make it okay, here's your smoothie, take the money. Take a moment. And I would do that with students for 3 years and realize that, hey, coffee's a gateway to relationship building and that kind of stuff. And so it might be a single parent coming in. Might be their only interaction with an adult in the day. Let's make it nice, It might be a break from work, and work is hard. We all know. It might be a break from work. Make it nice, And so coffee is fantastic on its own, but it's also this gateway to building a community.
By the way, in business, I'll say people, hey, let's grab coffee together.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't drink it, but
what do you get?
I get my matcha tea.
Oh, no.
You don't serve matcha, do you?
I have a thing against matcha.
I'll tell you what, I'll try your coffee if you start bringing the matcha into your store.
I'm going to decline.
There we go. It's okay. It's all right. I'll have to go to get it then.
Oh, no.
Anyway. All right. So anyway, so you made an observation about coffee as a gateway. Then how'd you get started?
Yeah. So I was a minister, right out of college. I knew that these are critical years that people are deciding what they're going to do with their life. I got married in college. I met my best friends in college, and I discovered purpose, what I wanted to do. And so I knew working with young students.
Where did you go to college, by the way?
Shippensburg University, alma mater.
Yeah.
Go Ship.
Nice Pennsylvania State University.
It's fantastic. Yeah. So, I knew that was critical. And so my first job was a co-op. It was ministry and coffee in Huntington, Pennsylvania with Juniata College, Standing Stone Coffee Company. I was there for the first year to open. And I loved it. We'd serve coffee. We'd also meet students, and we'd talk about the big questions. Why are we here?
Yep.
Why do we exist at all? What's our purpose and mission? And it's great to do that over a cup of coffee. That's the best way to do it, or matcha, I guess. But,
thank you for that.
But I really enjoyed that kind of co-op thing. And so after 2 years, I moved back to Shippensburg University with my community, and I wanted to do ministry full time, but I could only go part time. So I had this other part time that I had available, and so I thought I could roast coffee like I had in Huntington. We applied for a loan for the roaster. I went to 40 banks. It was like 40 asks.
Right.
I got shot down 39 times. And then a community co-op, did half with a bank, and they split the risk. And we had no rights to a loan at that point. I was 25 with one car, But they took a risk on us. We opened the roastery with no clients. We almost went bankrupt immediately. And we just had to grow and struggle and hustle to get to a 3-year point where we could actually break even.
It's really interesting because you were talking about loneliness and people trying to build community at coffee shops. So was that the core problem that you saw that made you start your business? And if there's, more to it, why did you start with a roastery, and what led you to opening that community space, which is a coffee shop in the end?
Yeah, that's a great question. What motivated me to get into coffee? Well, I saw that need in our community. Our side of the world is coffee is one of these third spaces. If work and home are your primary realms, what are the third spaces? We used to have bowling leagues and softball leagues, and we used to have all these places where people could congregate outside of work and home. And now the digital space has taken that over. We don't have softball leagues anymore so much. We don't have these, even churches and religious worship, like those attendances are down. So where do you meet people that aren't like you and look like you and talk like you and think like you? Coffee is a great third space, right? So I was motivated by that. I saw arts and music and coffee. You can do all these different, I'm a jack of all trades kind of guy. I like being lots of, and I thought coffee could be a gateway there. But also, here's a quote. This is Thoreau, ready? The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. And in college, people aren't there yet. They're not worn out yet.
Yeah.
They got all the potential, but still, you look at work. You look at people just struggling to get by. That question always plagued me. Was, well, what's work for? What are we working towards? Is it just a paycheck, or is there something more beyond that? That question drove me in coffee to the justice issues around workers on the other side of the planet, growing the coffee and getting pennies on the dollar in the profit share, just not making enough. And so there's justice. There's ecological issues across the planet, how we grow coffee, produce coffee, ship coffee, how we serve coffee here in the States, all single-use cups almost primarily.
Sustainability issues.
Yeah, sustainability. So there's all these issues in coffee. And, one of the questions we'd ask students is, well, what's wrong with the world, right? Because and here's the funny thing, in campus ministry, I did 13 years of ministry. So there's a lot of asking big questions of people. I'd ask the question, I'd stand out there and say, what's wrong with the world? And the funny thing is, no one ever came up to me and said nothing.
Right.
We all know there's something wrong in the world. We can debate about what is wrong in the world. We know there's something wrong, and that's a core. So for me, what was wrong with coffee? Injustice with farmers, ecological issues, how we serve it, the fact that our communities aren't more united. Those are all issues. I was like, if you get angry about that stuff, you could put a lifetime into it.
I think what you're doing is unique. On the other hand, you do see more and more coffee shops and also some, bars and places of entertainment that are built around social justice and community. It seems to be a trend, which I see as a real positive thing for the world, that we're headed in that direction. So you got in, we heard about the loan issue. That was your first big challenge. After that, it's been a smooth ride building the business, right?
Oh, it's been easy street. Yeah. we got the loans. It's been fantastic. Easy.
So tell us about some of the other challenges you've had. And from that beginning, what strengths you've developed to handle those?
Great. Yeah, the company that supplied our first roaster went bankrupt after 17 years in the industry. They went bankrupt on that first deal, and they shipped us half a roaster. Right. So we had to get the other half. And so before we even started, I took a long walk with my wife. I took a long shower alone and just meditated on, can we keep going, or should we sell the other half and just cut the loss? Right. And we ultimately decided to keep going, obviously. But right up front, there was this, not everyone's going to keep their word. And you're going to have to live with that and keep going. And we got burnt a few times along the way with people who didn't keep up their end of the bargains. So you learn, get a contract. Just simple things. But it was like that at every step of the way. I don't have a business background. I had to learn from the school hard knocks and just make a lot of mistakes. And so the struggles have been mistake after mistake after mistake, and then learn from it and make a policy or improve. And I'm still, I feel like I'll be doing that the rest of my life.
We only have about a minute till break, but just tell us a little bit about how the company's advanced, because now you're working on your 8th location. You're doing a lot of wholesale business. You're big into the cold coffee business.
Yeah.
So we could talk about that. So just give us a kind of overview of the things you've done before the break.
Great. We've been doing wholesale coffee since we got started. We didn't have our own coffee shop, so we were supplying to other cafes. And then we opened our own shops. Tony, my business partner, came on, Tony Diehl. He's fantastic. Everything you see online is Tony Diehl. He's amazing. So we opened up coffee shops together, and we've been working on this 8th shop in Harrisburg. But flash chill is really unique. Flash chill is we brew coffee hot and we chill it to fridge temps within 30 seconds. That's very different from cold brew, which is typically brewed over 20 hours at room temperature. You get very different products when you brew them differently. Almost no one on the planet does flash chill coffee. It's too labor intensive. It's difficult. But the results, it's a better cup of coffee cold. And so we there's a reason no one does it. It's very difficult, but we've been really trying to lean into that. And we have a distribution network in 5 states now where people can order kegs of coffee through our distributor, which is Odeco, and serve coffee at their office. You could have an ice cream shop and pull it off a tap. And now you can pull it hot from the same keg. So we have a little superheater. So you can keep this keg cold and pull cold and hot coffee from the same tap.
So you heat it back up after.
Yeah. We flash chill it, and then we flash heat it. Yes, you got it.
And that's innovative, right? I mean, that's a big innovation in the coffee industry.
Yeah. This could work well for a lot of different places, especially if you don't want to brew batches of coffee all day. You can just pull 1 cup at a time whenever you need it.
Amazing. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back on Founders Forum.
Tired of serving coffee that doesn't match the quality of your menu? At Denim Coffee, we help restaurants, cafes, and shops across Pennsylvania serve exceptional specialty coffee without the waste, hassle, or guesswork. Whether it's flash-chilled kegs that pour hot or cold coffee on demand or a full-service coffee bar, we offer training, equipment discounts, and expert roasting, all to make it easy to elevate your coffee program and your profits. Visit denimcoffeecompany.com/wholesale today and serve coffee that's worth talking about. Denim Coffee. Make better coffee.
We're back on Founders Forum with our guest today, Matt Ramsay, and Vera Hempel's with me in the studio today as co-host. Nice to have you here. And so all these things are happening in the business. You've got, how many employees do you have today?
Well, about 80.
About 80. Yeah, it's quite a thing. Mostly part-time, I assume?
Yeah, a lot of young folks part-time doing multiple things.
And with all these things going on, obviously there's a culture to this because your business is about culture. Well, tell us about the culture of your company and how you're trying to develop that and how you do that with part-time people that are spread out all over the place.
Yeah, this is a challenge. I mean, you talked about challenges. This is one of the challenges. I have things that I really care about in coffee. We care about the hospitality. Like I said, I don't want these to be transactions. I want this to be a community. And so we have to communicate that well. We have an orientation. My business partner does right now, even though we have 8 employees, my business partner usually does most of the orientations on site, in person, one at a time, every hire.
Wow.
3 hours yesterday he was in with a new hire, just going through slideshow after slideshow. It's like a class.
He's putting a lot of miles on that.
Yeah. Well, it's at our headquarters, but it was like, this is like, there's a clinic that we go through and but you can't train personality. So we try to hire folks who are going to be warm and inviting, hospitable, and also good at what they do. I mean, the other part of that is we're trying to make better coffee. That's hard. It's on every shirt. It's on like every bag. It's make better coffee. So you have to be warm and inviting and personable. You also have to be talented and good at your craft. And at the end of the day, it's a craft, and we're trying to be really, really good at it. So we do a lot of work on training there as well. It takes weeks for people to be able to make a latte before we green light them to serve those.
So it starts with selecting the right people. Do you have a specific hiring process through which you find out if they're able to be hospitable? And
Yeah. We go through interview questions. We ask a lot about drama on the job and that kind of stuff.
Right.
We try to find people who get along with lots of different folks because it is a community of all kinds of people are welcome to work with us and be customers in our shop. So you have to be able to work with everybody.
I would imagine your retention is pretty good given that all that work that you go through to get the right people and train the right people and build a culture.
I wish I could tell you the stats on that. I don't know if we're ahead or behind the curve on that. I assume we're a little bit ahead, but barista is a high turnover industry. It's young folks. It's often a first or second job.
Or transition type job.
But we also have folks who have retired and they want to be baristas. We have folks who are doing this because it's a fun job to be a part of and serve people and be in the community out and about and be on your feet. And, there's something to that too.
Yeah, as someone who has worked in the hospitality industry and in college, I can account to that. It is a fun job, and I think personality is such a big part in serving people, but not only serving your customers, but also then building that culture from within. So it sounds like you're really focused on also building that sustainability, focus within your experience in the company from within.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we had one shop, it was a lot easier to be on site and just show people, hey, this is how we do it. This is what I like to do. I like to ask a question of the day to customers. If you have time, come up with something. Make sure it's not just a transaction. But when we got the 8 shops and 80 employees, more difficult. So how do you keep doing that? We have, really the answer is just great people that are doing that for you. So Kate is our regional manager. they're fantastic. They hire for us. They know what we're looking for. They have the same values I have in terms of the quality and the hospitality, that kind of thing. So the people that, it's always the people you work with that make or break the business, right?
This show is a lot about future vision and forward movement and on all of that. And you certainly have a lot of vision. I'm going to ask you a question that we didn't prepare for, but your long-term vision. You can pick whatever time you want out in the future, but what are you trying to build? What do you eventually want to have, Matt? And then I'm going to go to the shorter term.
Great question. We would play this game with students all the time because most of our ministry is around work,
Yep.
And so the question would be, in an ideal world, if you had a utopia, what would coffee look like? And so you got to go to the farmers and you got to say, well, it's not poverty. It's not famine, starvation, and becoming refugees. The market swings wildly in coffee.
Right.
It can go up 300%. It could go down 300%. And when the market drops for farmers, they become refugees at times. They face starvation, and some commit suicide. This is for what coffee is, which is beautiful, right? For the aesthetic beauty that we see. There's no nutrition in coffee, right? For the beauty of coffee, the price cannot be starvation. Skip utopia. Go backwards from there. What do we have in the real world that we have to face? We have to face issues of justice. I need to be at a certain scale to order enough coffee to make a dent in one community in coffee. Right now, we rely on importers to do a lot of that work to make sure that we're getting fair wages and taking care of the environment. But if I could shake hands with farmers and buy in bulk, we could ship directly by boat, then we can create long-term contracts. We can have less market instability for the pricing on farmers. And so they can rely and know that when they come to the market with their one harvest per year, they have enough to get going for the next year as well. That's important to me. The ecological issues are important. Flash chill, I think, is part of the key there. That we could, if we can sell more flash chill coffee, we can order more coffee like this down the road. We'd like to open more shops, obviously. And our wholesale partners are a big part of our mission. So supporting new coffee shops, we supply equipment, training, that kind of stuff.
I do have to connect you with my daughter. I think you guys got to have a conversation because this is the work she does around the world. It's trying to make life better for the farmers, and it all starts with the farmers. I love that surprised. Not that it surprised me. What the person that you are would tell me that's where you would start. But I was thinking more about the culture of your company and your service and what you're doing in the communities. But I love that it starts with the farmer, and that's what you're thinking about.
Yeah, it's all connected. It's woven together. That's why that's one of the reasons we call it denim. We're all connected.
I was going to ask you about that, and that makes a lot of sense. So now let's look out just like a year. If it's November of 2026, and we're talking, and I said, "Hey, how'd the last year go?" What would that have to look like for you to say, Matt, that was a very successful year in your journey?
Yeah, great. That's a great way to phrase that question, isn't it?
I've had a lot of practice.
Yeah, you're good at this.
Thank you.
I think flash chill I think it's unique. There's 3,000 coffee roasters in the United States. We're all roasting coffee. We're all competing for sourcing the best coffee, and we try really hard. I've got head roasters sampling coffee all the time. He's amazing. And so obviously we want to keep growing our wholesale coffee supplies, retail, coffee shops. But the flash chill, I think if we could work on getting that into a bag-in-box, because right now it's kegs. If we could go to bag-in-box and flash chill in 2026, we could ship that further than we can right now.
That sounds like that would be big business for you, I would think. That would represent a lot of growth for your business.
I think the market would demand that product, that it could become a national product if we could lean into that some more.
By the way, this show is about business owners and business is ultimately about money. But it's interesting that none of the things we've talked about has been about financial growth or revenues or, it's all been about how you're changing the world by what you're doing, which makes a lot of sense given your background. But I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that's a good observation. We would like to stay in business, though, and turn a profit. We would. Somebody told me before I started, he said, you can't do anything good in the world if you don't make a profit, Matt.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So that goes hand in hand.
Sure.
So I'm sure that's part of the vision as well. Vera, you have another question for Matt?
I don't have a question, but I like that approach of, solving the problem and diving into the problem space, and the money will come. I think a lot of entrepreneurs and business owner face this issue where they run after the money. You've experienced this yourself, trying to get funding for your business. If you're building a physical product or a service or a SaaS product, I think a lot of people are struggling in that financial realm, that oftentimes the mission, the pain points that they're actually solving for aren't at the forefront anymore. But I like that you're approaching it from that level, because that's why you're doing what you're doing, and it sounds like you're very passionate about it.
Yeah, great point.
We have time for one last question. I know you're a reader. What book are you currently reading, Matt?
Oh God, I've been rereading actually, because I'm a little bit of a philosophy guy. I've dabbled around Marcus Aurelius, the Meditations.
Me too.
I reread that because I hadn't read it in 20 some years, and that and the wisdom literature from scriptures. I've been reading those both hand in hand a little bit to get me through these times. Things are changing, and how do you deal with it? Well, there's some wisdom in recognizing that you can't change the external forces, that you can be the thermostat instead of the thermometer in certain situations. And that's been helpful for me lately.
By the way, Marcus Aurelius, I listened in the car, Audible.
Yeah.
But I found out I picked the original translations. They're really hard to listen to.
Well, what are you listening to?
Well, the original. So it's sort of in ancient language, as opposed to there's modern interpretations. So now I'm trying the modern interpretation.
What are you working in Latin?
No, it's the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. It's not in Latin; it's in English.
Oh, yes.
But it's the strict translation of the original Latin.
Yeah. Good.
So that's the issue. Yeah. We just have a couple more seconds. One last thing. Do you have any book? What's your next book you'd like to read?
Oh, what's on my list? Just more of that. More anything I get in my head. I try to stay learning all the time. So wisdom is the order of priorities.
You like nourishing books.
Yeah. I get my fiction through the movies.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being here, Matt. Vera, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric, for doing the engineering. Thank you, WWDB, and thank you all for listening to Founders Forum. And we look forward to being with you again next week.
Yeah, go Birds!
Go Birds! There we go.
We hope you enjoyed your time with Founders Forum and that you found value to take with you throughout your day. Join us again next week for another episode of Founders Forum on WXKB 1039 HD2.